Hello friends, Tanya here with another day of the Spellbinders 2024 Crafty Advent Calendar. This is day 13. Let's open that box and see what's inside. It looks like some words and it looks like it's a stamp set. This is a stamp set with a bunch of different ways to say hello and thanks. And there's a from me to you. I'm stamping these all out in some black ink on a piece of white cardstock so you can get a good look at each of the words in this sentiment stamp set. We have bonjour, hello, uh, merci, lots of things. Let's start playing with this embossing folder. It's a 3D embossing flower folder. I believe it said floral from me, floral to you. Anyway, I'll have it linked in the description box below. So the way this works is you put the die inside the folder and it will cut and do the 3D embossing all at once. Now we're going to use this Interference Cloud 9 ink in Sweet Treat, which is yellow on white cardstock and pink on black or dark cardstock. It's going to show up yellow on this pinkish reddish color. This is watercolor paper that I painted with some red watercolor. This is left over from the dip die that I did, the faux dip die technique I did on the 10 cards for December club kits. Now that I've highlighted the florals on this 3D embossed image, I am going to go on to highlighting the rest of it with some Golden Hour Solar Paste. I'm just going to use my finger to apply this all over the raised areas on this 3D embossed arch element. There are, it looks like peonies to me, some very multi-petaled, fluffy, large flowers with leaves and butterflies. Once I have all of those covered, they should show up even better on this beautiful oval arch. Oval, arch, aren't those two different things? Well, I think you know what I mean. There are coordinating dies for this arched image, and look at how that just really makes things pop. Here are the essential arches, and it does coordinate with this 3D embossing folder, and that embossing folder does 3 different sizes with 3 different scenes on it. We're going to make a shaped card here. I have a slightly bigger than A2 sized piece of folded cardstock. I believe it was 4.5 by 6 inches once it was folded over, because this arch is pretty big. It needed that extra space to do it. I used my pokey tool to get any of the paper hairs off the edge, since we did cut 2 layers of heavyweight cardstock at once. And then I cut another layer out of some heavyweight white cardstock using the same sized die that I used to make the shaped card. And this is to cover up any of the imperfections that the front of the card base got from being squished so hard, and any ink or dings that may have transferred. Next, we're going to use this Floral Garden 6x6 rubber, red rubber. Well, actually, it's not rubber, red rubber. It's gray rubber, but it's a rubber stamp. And the images you get off of a rubber stamp are so crisp. It is the superior way to stamp, but it takes a lot of space. We'll go with the clear stamps, plus you can't see through it. This is a gorgeous stamp that I got, a few months ago. And it has this array of florals. And I thought it just matched really well with the peony-like flower on our embossed piece. So as usual, I am stamping this 3 times. That just seems to be the magic number for me. Even if my ink pad is really nice and juicy, it just seems to be the best way to get my embossing to be just as crisp as it can be. I'm using some white satin pearl embossing powder. It is one of my favorites, and it creates a really nice background effect. And I was originally going to just stay with leaving this with white satin pearl on white cardstock, but it just, it didn't, I needed a little more. So you're going to see what I do with this. You're watching the magic of embossing here. Especially with the white satin pearl, it just magically appears as you heat it, and it always has a really nice, even, raised, shiny surface with this pearlescent quality. This is one of my go-to methods for creating an interesting but not in your face background. It adds some texture and it can bring the rest of the design together if you have a coordinating stamp or if you use this stamp repeatedly. Love that. It is so pretty. I try laying that just over the white, and it just isn't quite what I'm hoping for. So I take the next size down of that essential arch and die cut that out. And then I decide to do some ink blending onto the cardstock with the Sweet Treat Interference ink. Now it's a little brighter yellow than I expected. I thought it was going to be a little more muted, but we're going to go with it. And you don't have to cover this entire panel since only the edges are going to show through. I have a sponge dedicated to each of my interference colors because I'm pretty sure these would cause some cross-contamination issues if I use them on other ink pads. Just nice, getting a nice layer on here, and that is a really bold lemony yellow. And it does have a little bit of a sheen. You can almost see that, well, you can see a little bit of the pink interference when you turn it in the light. Now I'm adhering that to the Essential Arch shaped card base. I've added extra cardstock behind the yellow layer and behind this pink or red layer. Going to adhere that as centered as I can, and I'm looking at the basic shape, not the little pieces that extend beyond the essential arch shape. We're going to take our sentiment that for day 13 here, and I'm going to stamp it on some white cardstock. I'm going to do the From Me to You with VersaFine black ink, VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And then I'm going to heat emboss that because I really like to do that with my sentiments, especially the sentiments that are going on the front of the card. And that just quickly heats and becomes raised and shiny. This is just clear embossing powder. And then I'm going to take the Essential Modern Ovals. I rediscovered recently that this is a great sentiment banner. It makes that nice rounded edges, which really fits with the arches here. And I'm just going to use my Scout to cut this out. I'm going to do some partial die cutting here so I can make this the length that I want it to be. So I only put the plate over part of this die. I'll take the tape off and reposition this, making sure to get the top and bottom die edges in the grooves that it cut previously. Slide it to where I want that rounded edge to be, and then only cover that part of the die again. And there we have our perfectly die cut sentiment. I add an extra layer of cardstock behind that and adhere it to the front of the card. And then I remembered I have these gorgeous 3D butterflies. I chose the Misty Morning Butterflies selection. And we're going to audition a few of these butterflies on the card front to see which ones we like. I decide we're going to go with this white butterfly, this larger white butterfly, and we're going to cover the butterfly that's already here. And I'm just pressing the sticker down. One tip of that background large wing folded under when I pulled it off, but we're just going to go with it, trying to get that to stick really well. We're going to take the yellow butterfly and adhere that over the other butterfly on the embossing. I thought this really added a lot to the cards. This is a really easy way to bring a wow factor to your card. And these are beautiful butterflies. These are still available as far as I know. I did not search that. Next, we're going to take that rubber stamp, and I have put it back on its backer sheet and I have it face up on my work surface. I've inked it up with the Sweet Treat ink, and I'm lining the inside of my card up on this rubber stamp and just rubbing gently so that I can get that impression on the inside of the card. Next, I'm going to use my 2.0 Altenew stamp wheel. Stamp wheel? Altu? Yeah. Anyway, and I'm using this because I can put my entire card in here. It has one side that lifts off, which opens up one side of the platform. And I'm lining up 3 words from that stamp set from the Advent calendar. Now that I have those adhered to the plate for the stamp wheel, I've added some Versifying Clair Nocturne ink. And I'm going to stamp these 2 or 3 times to get really good impressions. These say merci, gracias, and thanks. So the front of the card says from me to you, and you could make this say lots of things. You could make it say happy birthday, thanks, hello, any of that would work. I decided to play with the thanks versions. Now that I have fussed with this a little bit, these butterflies have been starting to let loose from the front of the card. So I went back, pulled them off because it was easy to do, and added some Barely Art precision glue to the back of those stickers and re-adhered them to the card front. And I was surprised at how quickly they adhered and how well they're stuck now. Now we're also going to use some of the sequins from, I think it was day 9 of the Advent calendar. These are those beautiful iridescent or opalescent lemony yellow sequins. I'm going to add 2 or 3, well, I'm going to add a total of 5 to the front of the card. And this is a really deeply embossed panel. So I have to be careful where I place this and how much glue I apply, because if you don't put enough glue and if you adhere it on an angle over some really uneven embossing, they're more likely to pop off or not actually adhere. So I add a little extra adhesive behind some of those sequins. Now on the inside, I didn't want it to feel left out, so I add a few sequins to the inside also. Just going to add some random dots of glue, use my pickup stick and grab, there are only 2 sizes of sequins in this mix, so I grab a couple of the smaller and one of the larger to finish it off. I hope you enjoyed this card. I really had fun playing and making this. It was, again, a work in progress. I did not have a real plan when I started this. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't done that yet, and check that description box below for all of the products that I used today. The best bet for all of them will be to click the visual link list, and don't forget to come back again tomorrow. Until next time, here are a couple more videos I thought you might enjoy. Bye-bye.